a question that has been asked by many non-Israeli Jews, is building a sukkah required for Jews living outside the land of Israel? The reason some have asked this is a legitimate one, because the Torah commandment states that this is to be done once the children of Israel arrive in the land. This building of the sukkah each year during the harvest period is a reminder of our time of wandering in the wilderness outside the land for that 40-year period. However, for Jews living in the diaspora, still in the wilderness, the thinking is it doesn't apply to them since they are still wandering outside the land of promise. That is actually a very good question and a nuanced one. In halakhic terms, the answer is a resounding yes. Building a sukkah is required for Jews living outside the land of Israel, just as it is in Eretz Yisrael. The mitzvah of dwelling in a sukkah during Sukkot applies universally to Jews wherever they live, not only those in the land. The Torah's command in Vayikra, Leviticus, chapter 23, verses 42 and 43 states, "You shall dwell in Sukkot for 7 days, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel dwell in Sukkot when I brought them out of the land of Egypt." This commandment is not conditional on a Jew's current geography. That said, there are two key distinctions for the diaspora. Number one addresses duration. In Israel, Sukkot lasts 7 days, with Shemini Atzeret being a separate festival. However, in the diaspora, because of Yom Tov Sheni Shel Galuyot, the second festival day of the exile, the first 2 days are Yom Tov, and the 8th day, Shemini Atzeret, is still observed as a festival day within the Sukkah, though without the lulav and etrog. There's also a custom not to recite the Sukkah blessing on the 8th day. Secondly, there are the practical challenges. Jews in colder climates sometimes face near-freezing or rainy weather. While the mitzvah is still in force, mitzta'er patur min hasukkah, one who experiences significant discomfort, is exempt from dwelling in the sukkah during that time. The mitzvah isn't meant to cause misery. Now let's get to the heart of it. The original question posed isn't just asking about halakha, it's probing the theology and logic behind it. In other words, the why rather than the what. And those asking that question are absolutely right that the Torah's framing seems to tie the mitzvah of sukkah to entering the land. In the Torah's own framing found in the aforementioned verses in Vayikra, "You shall dwell in Sukkot for 7 days, so that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel dwell in Sukkot when I brought them out of the land of Egypt." And also in Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 13 to 15, we can see that Sukkot is connected with the harvest in the land of Israel. "When you have gathered in your grain and your wine, you shall rejoice in your festival." So yes, the Torah explicitly ties the observance to being in the land and remembering the past wandering from within the stability of settlement. The Sukkah, then, becomes a symbol of perspective. Only when Israel is settled can it look back and reflect on the fragility and faith of the wilderness years. That's its elegant reading, and those with the original question are in good company. The Ramban, Nachmanides, points this out. Sukkot was instituted after entering the land as a contrast. We leave our solid homes to remember dependence on Hashem, even in abundance. So why still observe it in the diaspora? Here's where halakha diverges from that theological nuance. The rabbis ruled that all positive time-bound mitzvot that apply to Israel as a people apply wherever Jews live, unless the Torah explicitly limits them to the land, as with agricultural laws like Terumot, Ma'asrot, or Shemitah. The mitzvah of the Sukkah, though tied in spirit to the land, isn't linguistically limited to it. The verse says, "You shall dwell in Sukkot, that your generations may know, not when you dwell in the land." Hence, halachically, it's a universal remembrance, not a geographic one. But the theological point still stands, and it's profound. Now let's journey into a more mystical or philosophical layer as it relates to the Sukkah. In a deeper sense, Jews in the diaspora are still in the wilderness, spiritually between Egypt, exile, and Canaan, redemption. That's why, in some Hasidic and Kabbalistic thought, the Sukkah itself is a microcosm of the land, a temporary but sacred dwelling infused with the Shekinah. So even though diaspora Jews are physically outside the land, building a sukkah transforms exile into sacred space. It's a portable piece of Eretz Yisrael, a divine bubble of presence that travels with Israel wherever it goes. In that sense, The mitzvah isn't suspended in exile. It's fulfilled precisely because Jews living outside the land are in exile. Every Sukkah in the diaspora whispers, "Even here, Hashem dwells with us." It's a lovely philosophical end to the whole idea of the Sukkah. In short, within the literal Chas Torah context, it was meant for when Israel entered the land as a reminder of past wandering. From the halakhic reality, it applies everywhere because it's not land-dependent, and with its spiritual symbolism, the Sukkah itself is the land, a dwelling of divine presence that sanctifies wherever Jews are. So to sum up, yes, the mitzvah of Sukkah applies outside Israel, but you're exempt during genuinely uncomfortable conditions, which is a real blessing for those Jews living in Siberia or North Dakota. And in the diaspora, you've got an extra day of balancing halakhic rules with weather forecasts. If I may take some liberty and be a bit poetic, the Sukkah is Israel's tent of meeting in exile, a booth of memory and hope. Inside it, we're no longer wandering, we're already home, if only for 7 fragile days. Thank you for watching this video or reading the text on my Blogger or Substack page. All my videos can be found on Rumble, Locals, and YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and share with others. Without your support in helping get these messages out to others, I could never do this kind of work successfully. And for that, I am ever grateful to you, our wonderful and faithful readers and viewers. Until next time, this is Shmuel ben Shlomi wishing you shalom and Chag Sameach.